Hello, I'm Lindsay, and this is SkyTing TV. We're going to do a yoga class for men. I'm here with my friend Brian, who also happens to be a man, so we are ready to go. I'm going to have you, if you have props, have 2 blocks and have a blanket. Depending on your range of motion, you may decide you don't want them, but nice to be prepared. So this is yoga for men, but it's also just yoga for people who are looking for some kind of spinal mobility. So we'll get into some hip stuff, some spine stuff, some shoulder stuff over the next little bit of time. You'll start lying down on your back, and when you come to lie on your back, you actually don't need to bring anything with you. When Brian makes it down to his back, he's going to start with his knees bent and his feet on the ground. The hands are going to come out into either a T or cactus shape, whichever feels better for his shoulders. And as he's getting there, and as you're arriving in this shape, you can kind of wiggle those shoulder blades wide on the floor. And then the feet will stay as wide as they currently are. So they're about as wide as the hips. Sometimes it's tempting to move the feet around, but try not to narrow that distance. Just let your legs fall over to the right. And you can let them fall as much or as little as you'd like. And then when you feel ready, you'll bring the legs back through center and you'll let the legs fall over to the left. And then you'll just continue to move like this for a few more cycles. And what we're working right now with the legs is internal and external rotation. You get the opportunity to check in with how the thigh bones are moving or maybe not moving in the hip joint. Brian's looking great though. You also, because we've started with the feet a little wider, maintaining a bit of an arc in the back. For many men and humans in general, we spend a lot of time seated and we build tension in our back if we're kind of not sitting consciously and rounding. So we're kind of returning to the natural curve of our low back here with this shape. Go ahead, finish up one more complete round, Brian. So go to the right. When you're ready, go to the left. And then I'll have everybody pause in center. You're going to lift up your right leg only and then cross your right ankle over your left knee. Perfect. And then the legs will drop back over to the right and you'll hold. So with the ankle over the knee, you're getting the bonus weight of the foot on the thigh. That sometimes pulls us into a bigger back bend. And if you sneak a peek at the screen, you can see that Brian has a nice amount of extension, really from the pelvis all the way up to the shoulder blade area. Heavy through your left arm a bit. The left shoulder blade's allowed to lift off the floor here. Okay, and then you're going to keep this ankle to knee shape. Bring the legs back through center, lift up your left leg, and hold on to your left thigh. So now you've got a figure 4 shape, and as you get here, you can rock the hips from side to side. Sometimes it feels nice to be still. If you're preferring stillness today, that's totally fine. Okay, now Brian looks good here, but I'll just say this. For those of you who are in the shape and are feeling a ton of tension in the neck, the shoulders, the low back, you may sneak a blanket underneath the head. Then you're going to use your arms to pull your left leg in just a tiny bit closer to the belly. So I don't want it to feel like you're forcing anything. And as that happens, open and close the mouth a couple of times and check in with your jaw. Because a lot of times when we start to feel stuff in our hips, we tend to do work with our face, which is not going to help your hips out. Okay, and then Brian's going to keep a hold of his left leg. Straighten your right leg up toward the ceiling. And then with control, the right leg will land all the way down on the ground. Take your time. Whenever that right leg lands, take a twist. The left knee will stay bent. You'll take the leg over to the right. Now from here, the left arm can cactus out to its own side. Brian also stopped for a second with his hand on his sacrum, on his low back. It can be nice to check in there with your own body. So as we're doing these practices at home, anytime you kind of have the instinct to bring a hand to your own body, do it. It's nice to give yourself a manual check-in, a manual adjustment. Stay here for one more cycle of breath. Feel that your left forearm is trying to stay grounded. It's okay with me if the shoulder blade lifts. As you complete that cycle of breath, you'll come back through the center and you'll straighten your left leg up to the ceiling. Grab a hold of the back of the left thigh with both hands. And I use the word straighten. It may not be accurate. You do not have to straighten the leg all the way if the hamstrings are tight. You're going to reach through both heels, so don't forget about your right foot. And as you press through your right foot, your left heel is pressing up toward the ceiling. Rather than getting focused on pulling the leg in toward your face, can you instead actually press the leg into the hands? And you'll feel that your left hip maybe decompresses a little bit. Okay, I want you to keep your left leg where it is. Stretch the arms overhead. And if you're running out of real estate as you take the arms up and overhead, you can grab opposite elbows, totally up to you. And then slowly, you're gonna lower your left leg all the way down to meet the right. And as you're lowering it, right before it lands, you'll think about reaching the leg a little longer. And then as the leg lands, bring the hands to the belly and just observe a cycle or two of breath. Generally, the left leg will feel a little bit different from the right. Bend your knees and step the soles of the feet to the ground. And then cross your left ankle over your right knee, cactus your arms. Take your legs over to the left. So we're back in that figure 4 twist. Yeah, and you've got the weight of your left foot on your right thigh bone. Just notice what that does for your quads of your right leg, front of thigh. Also feel how that may affect your spine. For those of us who are a little bit tighter here, the right shoulder blade may lift off of the ground. I said this already on the other side, but think about keeping, if possible, your right hand, your right forearm pretty plugged in. You'll stay here for one more cycle of breath. No rush at all as you're completing that exhale, though. Come back through center and then take figure 4. You'll lift up your right leg, hold on to the back of the right thigh with both hands. And as you get into your figure 4, you're welcome to stay still. You're also welcome to give the hips a little rock from side to side. The left foot is going to stay flexed. And then you can work on pulling your right leg in a little bit closer to the belly. But if you're playing with that, just notice what's happening with your face, with your eyes, with your jaw, with the throat. So can you maybe up the sensation in the legs without adding on extra effort in the face? Okay, and then Brian's going to keep a hold of his right leg. He'll straighten his left leg up to the ceiling. He'll lower his left leg down to the ground. You'll take your time as you're lowering the leg, reaching it longer just before it lands. And then when the leg does land, there we go, you're going to take a twist. Take your right leg over to the left. The right arm can cactus right. Of course, you can touch base, with your body. So maybe that right hand touches the sacrum or the low back first. So this is a deeper twist than the figure 4 twist that you've done. Your right shoulder is probably going to lift. And frankly, Brian's got really long legs, so he lands, but your right foot may be hanging out in space, and that's totally fine. Again, tune into your breath. You'll stay for one more inhale. And when you're ready, another exhale. And then you'll bring the right leg back through center, hamstring stretch. So extend the leg up to the ceiling, interlace the hands behind the thigh. If you're feeling fancy, maybe you take the weird interlace of the fingers, good to play with breaking our own habits on the mat. Both legs are reaching as long as possible. For those of us who are feeling a lot in the back of the right leg or in the low back, the right knee is allowed to bend. And then again, rather than really yanking the leg in toward your face, which I know it's tempting to do more, but can you actually press the thigh into the webbing of your hands and look for a little more space around your right hip? Spread the toes out if you can. Wake the feet up and then reach the arms overhead. One last time, you've got a slow lower. You'll lower the right leg eventually to meet the left. But again, just before you're landing the leg this time, see if you can reach the leg the tiniest bit longer. There you go. And then bring the foot to the ground. Bend the knees, step the soles of the feet to the ground. Hug the knees into the chest, hold onto your shins, and just give yourself a little rock here from side to side first. And then eventually, Brian, go ahead, hug your nose toward your knees. So you're rounding the spine. You'll start to rock forward and back on the spine. Everybody at home is doing this too, build a little momentum, and then eventually come up to sit. When Brian makes it to sit, he's going to grab his blanket. It's just folded, so he's got a little bit of height. He'll put it under his seat, and then he'll cross his right shin in front of his left. So sometimes in yoga, we cross at the ankle, but today I want you to cross mid-shin because it's kind of harder for the hips, right? And you can see Brian's hips or knees rather, a little high. I'm actually going to give him my blanket, and I'm going to sit up on a block just because it's easier than totally changing both of our seats. Yeah, and as we elevate our seat, generally the knees get a little lower, but it does not have to be perfect. Take your left hand to your right knee, take your right hand to the small of the back. Yeah, reach through the heels here. And then as you press the pinky toe edge of your feet down into the mat, see if you can grow the crown of the head taller. Really nice. Yeah, and it may feel weird to be crossing at the ankle. If I was at the shin rather, if I was letting Brian cross at the ankle, he probably would have lower knees, but we're doing this on purpose. Go ahead, face forward. As you turn to face forward, you'll take the hands behind you. You can lean back into the hands a little bit. Bring the soles of your feet together, your knees wide. And then from here, you can lean back into your hands again, straighten the legs out in front of you. And then bend just your right knee. Yeah, because we're elevated, the back of the left knee may not land. That's okay. You're going to lift up your left arm. And as you lift the left arm up, lift up the chest, lift up the chin, and then turn to your right. As you're turning, I don't want you to stress about hooking the arm outside the leg. Just wrap your left arm around the front of the right shin. And then reach your left leg longer. Yeah. As you press down into the right sole of the foot, feel that the ribs can lift up, the top of the head can lift up. Beautiful. And then you'll unwind and face forward. Take the hands behind the back. Lean back just enough that you can free that right foot. Extend the right leg out in front of you. And then again, lean back. And this time you'll cross your left shin in front of your right. Again, kind of annoyingly mid-shin. Okay, and then once you're here, take your twist in the opposite direction. So turn to your left. The right hand will come to the left knee. The left hand can come to the small of the back. Now, sometimes when I'm twisting like this with my hand on the small of the back, I think about pushing the hand like toward the front of my body, letting the sacrum move into my body, letting the chest lift a little. And then you can use your right hand, Brian, a little bit more against your knee to turn just the tiniest bit more. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, face forward. As you turn to face forward, hands will come behind you. Lean back into the hands and take the feet together, the knees wide. Lean back into the hands, straighten the legs out in front of you. So just again, letting the thigh bones move in the hip joint. Go ahead, bend your left knee. Yeah, the left hand can hang out where it is. Lift the right arm, lift the right side of the ribs, and then rotate to your left. Wrap your left arm around the right leg. Get to just stay in my twist here as I look at Brian. Flex your right foot, and then really imagine the right leg reaching long. It almost feels like the right thigh bone can pull out of the hip joint slightly. That's gonna help the pelvis rotate. Go ahead, let your pelvis turn here. We don't have to square the hips right now. As you push into your left foot, see if you can sit taller. Gorgeous. Turn and face forward. Take the hands behind your back. Lean back enough that you can extend through your left leg. And then from here, you're going to lean back into the hands. I just want you to step your feet to the floor